Welcome, one and all, to episode 13 of Titan Teatime. I'm one of your hosts, Petter, and with me I've got my co-host, James.
Well, how's it going?
Going well. How about you?
I'm doing okay.
Nice.
I'm just scared.
Yeah. Tell me what you're scared of.
Scared as Aaron's Titan.
Yeah. It's honestly it's scarier than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's
Uh,
he definitely with instead of like a intimidating. Well, it is intimidating, but instead of like a what's the word, like fearsome, like yeah, I guess intimidating is the right word. Instead of that, he went with more grotesque,
yeah.
creepy, otherworldly kind of design with it, which is surprising.
Yeah, because just looking at that skeleton, it's like it doesn't at all, or like part of it looks like a human-esque skeleton, but like then like beyond that, it's like just what the hell is that even?
Well,
But I guess
it reminds me of something out of like a horror. You know what I mean? Like a horror
yeah,
manga or like a horror
absolutely,
movie. You
yeah,
know.
with like that long hair as well, like it really adds to that. But I think we'll get to that as well later in the
Sure,
discussion.
of course. Yeah, kind of jumped the gun there.
Oh no, but I totally understand why. But as most of the listeners, or probably every single listener, probably understands, the discussion topic is chapter 130, which is supposedly the final chapter of volume 32.
Huh.
Yes. And the chapter's name is Dawn for Humanity.
That
Which,
is a very interesting name.
right? Isn't that really interesting? Like, you'd think it would be like Dusk for Humanity or something like that. Because it's like going to be the end of it, supposedly. But there's the word
Mm.
dawn, which makes me
Hmm.
feel like, what does that even mean here? Is this the beginning for humanity? I guess humanity on the island.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I wonder. I wonder what that could be alluding to. Could it be, allusion to what you're kind of saying with the island? You know how Aaron calls everyone in the world animals, basically, like getting rid of the animals that are in the world,
Right.
and leaving only the humanity.
Right,
And
exactly.
and I give maybe that goes down into what differentiates humans with animals, and maybe that will play an aspect going forward. I'm not sure, but
Right. Yeah, it's definitely interesting because I was thinking like as for an obvious answer or like an answer related to like where the story seems to be going, which is everyone outside the island is gonna die.
hmm
Then humanity would refer to the island, like the Paradisians.
hmm
But if the story ends up with a more positive ending, where Eren is stopped before he rumbles the entire world, then it could mean the dawn for humanity as a whole,
yeah,
where maybe it leads to something beautiful between everyone in the world
right,
potentially. But we don't know that.
right. Well, it kind of goes to the theory. I don't know if I mentioned. I don't know if I've actually mentioned this on the podcast. Maybe I did. I don't know, but I know I've talked to you about it. The theory
Mm.
where Aaron kind of acts as a the rallying point for everyone to fight against. He kind of
Yeah.
sacrifices himself so that humanity comes together in that sense against one enemy.
Right.
And I obviously there's problems with that theory. Would that really stop people persecuting Eldians? Would that cause peace? I'm not sure, but that is just a one potential theory that I had. And going along
Yeah.
with what you just said, that could be a possibility. Now, another one is that Aaron doesn't even realize at this moment that he would be like the sacrificial pawn, if you will, to bring humanity together. But
Mm.
maybe at one point they realize. I'm not saying that is where it is going for sure, or even that's my most prevailing theory. I'm just saying it as a possibility.
Right. And I think it definitely is. It's been a rather popular theory of like people have been calling it the Lelouch ending because Is
Yeah.
supposedly it's a similar ending as Code Geass, which I haven't read the manga. I've seen the anime though, but anyway,
Hmm.
some fans think that would be a boring ending because it's already kind of been done in the manga world before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally know. I think obviously I don't know Code Geass perfectly well, but I do think the circumstances are probably different enough so that it
Yeah.
would probably still work in this story.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, I'm just very excited to see what it's going to be like,
Right. And
because I
I
I
mean,
can imagine so many different endings. Like,
yeah, it's just so many different endings, and like originality is highly overrated. No, I think Attack on Titan is so original in a lot of aspects
oh yeah,
that we pride ourselves, or we pride ourselves. What is that supposed to be? We like it. We like it for its originality. So I can see why people would be disappointed if all of a sudden it kind of pulls something that's already been done. But at the same time, like Code Geass was the first thing to have someone be a sacrificial pawn to, you know, for the world to unite against, or whatever it was, the
right.
countries to unite against. Um, yeah, so I don't think it's necessarily bad to have something that's similar, especially in the context of this manga series. I mean,
Mm,
they're not the settings are different. The similarities are far and few in between, in my opinion. But anyway,
yeah,
uh, I'm not expecting that to be the ending. I'm not. I don't. I'm trying to go into this not expecting anything per se,
right.
because I don't want to set my expectations. Not high is not the right word, but I don't want to go into this and be like, oh, this is not what I wanted at all. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, I definitely don't have like a specified ending I really want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Definitely nothing like that. I'm
I
just
just want it
very
to be good.
oh, absolutely. And as we've said many times on this podcast, in Isayama we trust.
Yeah. True. True
I'm
that.
sure it'll deliver a good ending, whatever it's going to be. I'm just super
Right.
excited to see what it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's like
Indeed.
that anticipation is very enjoyable in my opinion.
You know. I I guess before one more thing before we start is going on with that. After reading this chapter, maybe I should say this in, but I'll just say that anyway.
Huh?
After reading this chapter, I felt like there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, it was good and I enjoyed it, and it got my like tension up, and or got my excitement up. But at the same time, there was a whole lot revealed. The plot didn't feel like it moved drastically forward, other than the
Right.
fact that Aaron's on the island now, or the mainland now.
Right, right.
Um, so there was a lot of little things, and we'll touch on those. But overall, it didn't feel like it answered enough to be incredibly impactful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. I also kind of had a similar feeling after I read this chapter the first time. It's like it felt like it just kind of confirmed some
Yeah.
speculations that a lot of fans had already talked about as if they were almost confirmed, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a lot of those types of things, and but then my second read through, I did I did kind of appreciate it more. It felt a little deeper than it did my first time reading.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm very happy with this chapter now. Although I did feel a little bit like the first time I felt like a bit
Yeah. I'm
like
not. I'm
that.
not disappointed. But I'm not like. I don't know. I don't. It's hard to describe my feelings about this. Maybe it's because there's that dread I feel that he's on the island, and how are they going to stop this, or how is this going to end in anything but tragedy? Maybe that's what I'm feeling.
Mm.
I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint per se.
Right. Well,
I
because one thing that this chapter really confirmed is that Aaron is 100% like he wants to destroy the world outside of Paradise. That
I
is
say
his
it's I
goal.
say it's 95%,
Well,
because
okay.
just because with Isayama you're not sure, because I don't know if we know every single truth per se. Like it may be that Aaron feels like this is the only way to save humanity is by, you know, doing this way. But at the same time, it definitely comes off as yes, he I mean, you can't. Well, no, you can't. I don't think you can say that he doesn't want to kill or completely destroy all of humanity outside the island. I
Mm.
think that is yeah. I think you can definitely say that for sure. But anyway, I don't think we completely understand potentially all of his motivations. But again, I could.
Maybe not 100%, but the way like while we're on this topic, I
Mm-hmm.
might as well touch on it. At the end of the chapter where he and I think you mentioned it a little while ago as well. Like he refers to the world outside of Paradise or the humans living there as animals,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same word he used to describe the Titans in the very beginning of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And he vowed to annihilate them all, or to kill them all. And that's basically what he's doing. Now he's fulfilling his destiny. And like in that regard, it's like the way I'm feeling about it is that yeah, okay, he's doing this now. This is what he feels is right.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
and I can totally agree with that.
but let's get into the chapter, shall we?
Sounds good.
One thing I really liked, or there were actually two things I really liked about this first scene. One of them was that we see that Magath's sacrifice didn't just help because that ship was blown up due to his sacrifice, but his sacrifice also helped some of these alliance members to be able to focus on the mission.
Hmm.
Specifically Annie, as it's not until Hanji brings up Magath and like why he or and that he would have wanted to keep fighting regardless of if certain areas were already destroyed. Like he would try to fight onward to save the rest of the world. And I think that at least did help Annie to find some kind of motivation to still not give up, because she definitely seemed she wanted to give up here.
Yeah, I agree. I guess that yeah, that does help. I don't know how much it actually helped though. Like, I mean, in the sense that you can appreciate Maga's sacrifice more, but to Annie, I I think it's just more. Um, she's devastated that or she expected them to go to the Barrio first,
Yeah,
but they're not now, and they obviously they didn't discuss with her that they were going to Odihaf first, or that was their
yeah,
destination.
precisely.
So I mean, I mean, I guess like I could see Hanji using Maga's sacrifice as a way to try to. I'm just not sure if it necessarily worked, but she obviously, um, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that she
I think
will get
she
over it.
yeah
I, I,
I I
I don't
I,
know.
I think
It's hard to
so.
say.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Annie like pouting too long. I don't see her jumping ship. It's like, well, I'm out. There's no point.
Just swimming back as a Titan.
Well, that actually brings up a point that someone in our Discord server said, and it well, I had thought about it, but she was able to bring it clearer. Coffee Life, is that
Coffee Life,
the
yeah,
name
yeah.
name in the server? She mentioned that what if somehow the people of the barrio were able to escape, and maybe the
Oh yeah.
Azumabita were able to get them to Oriha safely.
Ooh.
And who knows? Was that part of Aaron's plan? I don't know. But there is a couple of things that go against that. One, I think of when Aaron was crying when they visited the Liberio. Um,
Or
as he looked at it was Liberio, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was specifically Liberio, but it was at
Oh, okay.
least somewhere in
It was
Marley.
it, it was somewhere in Marley, and he
Mm.
was crying as he saw like I don't know if they were refugees or just
Well, yeah, some kind of immigrants at least. I don't know
immigrants.
exactly.
So yeah, he was crying at the sight of that, and I think because he
Mm.
knew that they were going to die. Now, if they weren't, I mean, if they were Eldians or were sent to safety or whatever the thing is, then I guess there may be no reason for him to cry like that. I
Well,
don't
the
know.
the family they drank with weren't Eldians.
Right. That I mean that's what I always thought.
Right, right.
But it's just um. So I guess that defeats the
Mm,
my thinking there that they would get them out. Well, I guess okay. Sorry, I'm all over the place.
right. Sorry. Sorry.
The plan could have been to get those people out, but if he cried like that, then probably not. However, the
Right.
Eldians might have been able to leave because
Yeah.
there is that scene where Annie's father kind of fights against the Marleyan guards, and then we
Exactly.
don't see what happens after that, and we haven't
Yeah.
seen them since, I believe.
Exactly. We haven't. And I was also thinking about that. Like anything could have
Hmm.
happened there. We have no idea what.
Right.
So.
So potentially they could have gone out. There could have been a mass killing.
Yeah. I mean, they should have had time to evacuate. I imagine because
Yeah,
there's
I
been
think
a couple
evacuation is a
days.
possibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, that was very hard to understand roundabout way. I was trying to process all my thoughts, but that was the main point I wanted to say there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting idea. Like well, yeah, I guess yeah. If the Eldians in Liberia were somehow able to get the upper hand against the guards there,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I could definitely imagine that because they would, knowing what they knew after Aaron sent out that message, they would have wanted
Mm-hmm.
to get away from there, get
Right.
as far away from Paradise as possible.
Right.
So yeah,
And that would be good for Annie, and
yeah,
well, and for everyone obviously, but Reiner and Gabby and all them.
hmm
But it would help her motivation a bit. Um, anyway, just a thought I had, but it's also very possible that they will end up smashed, squished, however
it's
you want
yeah,
to say,
absolutely,
toe
yeah.
jam.
So the other thing I really liked about this first scene is that we get to see Annie in such like so much despair and like her like
Mm-hmm.
really letting all of her feelings out like this because she is definitely like more reserved and level-headed compared to most other characters most of the time. But so seeing her in this state, I thought it was like good to see it through her instead of one of the other characters, just because it's
Mm-hmm.
less like her, I guess, but still in line with her character. Because I mean, we've definitely, at least in the anime at the end of season one, we got to see like some of her inner struggles,
Totally.
like right before she crystallized herself, and so like it definitely is in line it's in line for her, but it was still I really appreciated that it is specifically through her. That kind of like Gabby and Piek are taking a bit of a they're in the background more so in the scene, and Reiner too. So I really enjoyed that, and also like her face when she talks to Mikasa and she says that she doesn't want to have to be prepared to kill her again or any of the others there. That just really got to me. Like with that face and those words, like it sold that message so well, in my opinion. It really goes to show how much she suffered doing what she did in like on the island. Like she didn't feel it didn't feel right to her doing all those horrible things, and I think it kind of goes in line part to a degree with some of the things that I've mentioned, like in some of the previous episodes, about her kind of want like feeling big regret about the things that she's done, even though she did it uh, to save her or to make life better for her father, ultimately. And but now that she has strong reason to believe that her dad is possibly dead already, then I guess with that knowledge, she's letting it all out, and I don't know. Maybe I'm not making any sense right now. I feel like I'm just kind of stating things, but basically, she's letting all of this out now, and I think it's really nice to get some piece of her mind about everything, or about like these things that have probably been like eating at her.
I again, I see what you're saying, and I feel like I'm always like, butting heads with you about this, but
Yeah.
so please forgive me.
Oh, it's all right.
I don't mean to be, just always like, oh gosh, he's so wrong about this. And I don't think that. I think there is definitely, within Annie, that remorse of what she did. And I think she knows what she did was wrong.
Of
But at the
course.
same time, her one priority was always her dad. That at least that
Yeah.
was what she came to realize, and who she wanted to protect it,
Hmm.
or to protect. I mean, and I say one priority. It was her biggest priority, I guess you could say, because
Yeah.
I think she grew to understand the power of friendship and whatnot. But I think in this scene, it's just she's just distraught that they won't be able to get to the barrio and stop Aaron in time. And I think that's where all of her um, emotions coming out there. And what surprised me though about this is that she said that she's done. She doesn't want to fight anymore. I'm not prepared to kill you guys again, because again, like you were saying, she realizes that these are her friends. These are people that are not devils. They're real, just like her.
Mm.
And I think this is kind of her confirming that. But I'm also surprised that she said she didn't want to kill Aaron either, despite the fact that he was basically going to destroy her father. It's really interesting. Like it's almost that almost is like taking revenge right out of the equation, and so it's very interesting.
I mean, she's basically. I think she's just tired. I think maybe some of the things she's saying isn't exactly what she would do in, like, if the situation arised. I mean, I don't know. Um, she definitely doesn't want to kill any of the people here. I think is clear from the situation, and she would probably prefer not to have to fight Aaron too. But I think if if they would if they would encounter him, she would probably be more inclined to fight
Well,
him.
no, I'm not saying that she wouldn't do it. I'm just saying that this, we're seeing this desire in her to not kill Aaron or anybody who sides with Aaron, who to protect him,
Mm.
despite the fact that he's basically, if they get to them and he's killed Liberio and everyone in it, that he's killed her father. I think she would definitely like fight back.
Hmm.
I'm not saying like she wouldn't have that fire or whatever, but it is interesting to see that she does care for these people around her.
Yeah.
Just similar to how Reiner learned to care for the people on the island.
Yeah. Exactly. Very
So anyway,
nice.
that's my thinking.
Hmm. Yeah. Gotcha. And then we get a pretty sudden shift into Aaron's head.
Yeah, it is a sudden shift. It's funny how birds seem to be a transition thing. I mean, I'm not gonna like list off where they are transition, but
Right. Right.
we've seen a few times where birds either transition into a new scene
Or just birds in general,
or
even
just
where
birds in
there's no
general. Yeah,
transitions. But
good
yeah,
point. Yeah.
for sure. And now it's a seagull. I think that's probably the first time we see a seagull at least this much in focus.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I don't know if that has any meaning. I mean, seagulls are just rat with the wings, but still, like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe it has something to do with wings of freedom,
Yeah, dude.
something like that.
I definitely think like it's about freedom. Like birds are free in that, like, in a sense. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely an intended thing.
So anyway,
Um,
sorry, that was just something I wanted to bring up.
yes. And so we get to see here like some potential beginnings for where the story started. Chapter 1, did it start with Grisha? Did it start where he kissed his story, or did it start with Emir and the pig that ran away? Um,
Oh, good. Thanks
or
for Thanks for bringing that because I
Mm.
was confused about the pig.
Oh, oh, I see.
I totally was like, where's that pig from?
Right.
I couldn't remember, but that's right.
It
It was the
was
pig that got away,
because of that pig that got away. She was,
accused of
yeah,
using.
yeah. So there's a pretty interesting page here where it kind of mirrors a previous time when we got to see a bunch of memories from previous Attack Titans and Founding Titans.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know which page.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a couple of different panels scattered around. Presumably, they're from Aaron's life, or they're things Aaron has seen. However, there are definitely a couple of exceptions that can't really be from Aaron's eyes, which makes me confused because everything else kind of is about Aaron right now. Um, you know, out of these images we have, for example, there's a picture of Armin, which seems to be from one of the two previous chapters where he's like shot in the
Yeah.
jaw. That can't be through Aaron. And there's also a picture of Falco from the beginning of chapter 91, where he's looking up at the bird in the sky, like the very beginning of the Marley arc. That also cannot be Aaron.
He has birds' views. He can see into the minds of birds. That's why you keep seeing bird. I don't know.
Dude, like I kind of like that thought kind of passed through my head when I read
Oh yeah.
this the first time. I was like, could that be an explanation? I have no like, I really have no, I guess, serious guess as to why those two specifically are there. Maybe
Yeah.
there's others. No, I think the other ones probably do make sense. I can't remember exactly when that picture of Piek is from in the corner, but
Yeah.
I'm sure. Well, actually, she did hold a gun at like to against
That
Aaron.
could be. Was that when he visited? We saw. Did you see Gabby, or was it when he visited Mikasa and Aaron? I can't remember. Wasn't it?
It was after they had like the table scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much
Yeah.
right. It was pretty much right before the big conflict in Shiganshina started. Like the most recent time. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
much right before like he got his legs bitten off by Porco
Yeah.
on the roof. But yeah, so that one probably makes sense as well. And like yeah, some of these are very obvious as to where they're from. There's one interesting image here though, kind of in the middle of the left side. There's a small picture of a like the bottom of a face,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that well, it reminds me very much of the beginning of chapter 1, the dream that Aaron
Yeah. I was
has,
I was thinking that too.
right? With the one that says "See you later."
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
it's
think, and when I was rereading the manga, I know I mentioned this part briefly. I think that may play a bigger role. I mean, it may play a role in how the manga ends,
mhm,
in some capacity.
yeah,
I'm not entirely sure, but I do think it reappearing is a sign, at the
for
very
sure,
least, that yeah.
definitely. I was gonna say that too. Like, I never have dropped that. Like, I always kind of held on to like that's gonna play some kind of significant part in the ending. And now seeing this
Hmm.
here, like it has to be that. Like, obviously it's not identical. It looks like Mikasa with her scarf on.
Hmm.
I think, or maybe I don't know. It looks like the scarf is around her neck, and it definitely looks like Mikasa's hairstyle.
Hmm.
Um, and and I mean, it did even in the preview or in like in chapter 1, it looked like Mikasa.
Right.
I don't think she was wearing the scarf though in the dream in chapter 1, but I think like
She was actually.
she was
Wait,
okay.
no.
Or
Yeah.
because
I remember there being a button shirt, but I'm pretty sure the scarf was there.
okay, I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Um,
Well, I mean, I can go grab it real
regardless,
quick. But
ah, but anyway, like even if the scarf wasn't there in the first chapter, I think such a thing could easily be retconned. Like to the
yeah.
scarf being there, I like it's not something that I would have a problem with.
No, I
Um,
mean it's not that big. Yeah, yeah. The scarf is there.
it is there. Okay, okay. Well, in that case, I was wrong.
Yep.
Uh, But then there's no retconning at all in that case.
No, no, okay. Not yet. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there'll be retconning of the length of the hair, but I wonder if Mikasa's hair has gotten longer since
uh,
the Marley arc at all.
that's
I don't
also
know.
kind of a thing. Well, we can look in the in this chapter here, like how she looked. I don't think she's quite at the length that she has in that dream. I think
Mm-hmm.
I do think it looks a bit shorter still,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess yeah. I honestly have no idea like how that is gonna come into play because it definitely looks more like Mikasa before the time skip, like with the hair.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, that's why I can't for sure say, oh yeah, no, this is going to be brought up again. Like
True.
I, but I do have a feeling that I don't know. I just have this gut feeling that it will play some sort of role, especially after a certain part in this chapter, which we'll bring up later.
Uh huh.
But I'll save it for that. But
All right. All right.
I do think that will have play more of a role.
Yeah, and one last thing about this, like it is definitely it's very much a Chekhov's gun. Like you see him hung that gun up on the wall in chapter one, and
Sure.
now he's pointing at it. Now he's pointing at this gun in this chapter, and it's going to play some kind of role. Like there's no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
Because he definitely does pick up on those. Like he doesn't just leave stuff hanging. It's like the Annie in the crystal was also this for a while or for a pretty
Mm-hmm.
long time,
Mm-hmm.
and of course he did do something with that, which was nice.
Right. I mean, and I think he's done a pretty good job of that, and that's what makes this story so interesting is that
Mm.
there's always like this gun hanging up that what kind of being led by the care, like what can this be, like what story significance will this play, and I think for some of these he's had in mind for a long time because I think he's gone about it where he knows how it ends. He probably knew how it end fairly early on, but it's just like leading up to that point, putting pieces together. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Some authors don't do it that way, but I feel like either he said it or there's just that feeling behind it that
Right.
he knows how it's going to end, more or less. But yeah, so that's why he had that frame of Mikasa that we were talking about
Yeah.
because he knew that was important. Not sure,
Nicely.
but
Right. Yeah, for
just
sure.
saying.
Hmm. And something else interesting here on this same page is the text. On the whole page, the text is, even if all this was set in stone from the start, even if all of this is what I wanted, it's all still ahead of us. That last bit, it's all still ahead of us. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Does it? I don't know. Is implying about the moving forward aspect? I don't know.
Maybe. Uh, I just started to think like is it actually because so back during the paths chapters
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of different like timeline theories and speculations around that.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
One theory that I did see was that it's like some kind of circular timeline. I don't like that necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends
Mm-hmm.
on how it's pulled off, I suppose. But like
Sure.
just on principle, I don't like it. Uh, but it made me think of that. Like it's all still ahead of us because like
Okay.
all these images that is you know on the same page as this text. It's all things that we've seen before. It's all things in the past, but the text says it's still ahead of us, and that I don't know.
Maybe it could also be that. I mean, it just simply means we're not done yet. Even
Yeah.
like I like what Aaron has to do. It doesn't end at which is kind of crazy if that's the case.
Mm.
Doesn't end at him destroying the animals or trampling the world.
Right.
Like maybe there's something more he has to do. I'm not sure, or maybe there's something he has to expect his friends to do. Maybe kill him. I don't know.
Right.
But
For
yeah,
sure.
it is very interesting. That wording is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit. And,
Yeah.
and I'm like you. I'm not a huge fan of the cycle
Mm.
thing.
Right.
I don't know.
But I think at at the end of it, when the story's done, this is going to make sense somehow. And
Yeah.
I, but yeah, at this point, I don't know specific. I don't know exactly what it could be. But
Hmm.
like, it could just be as simple as you said, like something about just moving forward, because that has been a
Oh,
very
yeah.
consistent theme throughout the story. So
Hmm.
it definitely could just mean something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we get some talk, like some flashbacks to when Aaron was talking to Yelena and Flock and Historia.
Hmm. I think one thing this confirms is that, I mean, I guess it's more for me because I don't know if again, another thing, I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast, but
Uh huh.
I thought, well, what if, actually, I think I did. What if Yelena is actually on Aaron's side or something? Um,
Hmm.
and I mean, I always thought she thought Zeke was God, but maybe she knew, maybe she somehow became more infatuated, maybe the wrong word, but infatuated with Aaron as a god, and so she kind of helped him. But again, this kind of confirms that she didn't know, for one, what Aaron's plans were. Oh no, you know what so what I said was she learned what Aaron's plans were in order to help Zeke. I think that I think that's what it was, but clearly that's wrong. She didn't know what Aaron planned. She just told Aaron what Zeke's plan was.
Precisely. Aaron knew what Zeke was planning,
Mm-hmm.
even though no one else on the island did. Um, but yeah, and this also kind of it seems to me anyway that it confirms that Yelena doesn't know, like
Yeah.
she doesn't know where Aaron is heading. She doesn't know his plan. So
Mm-hmm.
her being with the party right now
Yeah, it's kind of
will
confusing.
probably serve a different purpose. Like there's probably going to be something else. Now that we know it can't
Yeah.
be locating Aaron, it has to be something else. Because I don't think Isayama would
Mm-hmm.
have her there for no reason at all.
Right. It would be disappointing if she was there for just to be there.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe it has something to do with helping somehow helping Levi and Zeke see eye to eye, or
Right.
I,
I don't know.
I
And
don't
I mean,
know.
honestly, she has already been useful, to be fair. Or like
True.
in the campfire scene,
Yeah,
I
she
think
did
like she
play a use there.
definitely. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I feel like there's so many things we've talked about that's like we don't know what's gonna
Mhm.
happen with this specific thing, but
Mhm.
it's just gonna be so exciting to see what it's going to be. Uh, I thought it was really nice to see Flock's reaction when Aaron told him his plan.
Yeah.
Like it's like this. He definitely looks shocked at hearing that, and I really like that nuance.
Kind of depressed.
Maybe almost. I mean, he kind of always looks a little bit depressed. I well, or
Uh,
well,
I
I've
guess. I
seen
don't know.
I've seen these, like, people have like been gathering pictures of Flock from the manga, and they've just cut
Mhm.
out his eyes, and like they always look sad when you're just looking at the eyes, or like there's something
Huh.
in that. I can't remember exactly now because it's been a while, but uh, but at the very least, he looks shocked at hearing this, and that kind of, well, I like it because it makes it that maybe he's not. I mean, he is on board with that plan, but maybe not to the same extent as Aaron is. It kind of makes me feel like Flock is he's more human than he has come off as in the most recent chapters. Like, cause
Hmm.
he seemed very like 100% rumbling. There's like that's what we're doing, and that's the only way. That's the way. But he does seem to have some kind of initial doubt at least, which I like the nuance.
I don't know. I mean, I guess like I would have been shocked if you'd been like, yes, kill them all. Like I don't think that's ever been like his character. I just think, you know,
It kind of has in the most recent chapters, like in the battle at the harbor. He kind of seemed like that type of a villain almost, which is why I'm glad he's like back to a more relatable, kind of more human type of character.
yeah, I give you that. I mean, I definitely said that I disliked Floch, and I still do, um, but I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I don't really sympathize with the shock per se. You know.
I see. That's fair. I mean, maybe I just want to see more good in Flock because I do like him. Like deep down, I do like Flock as a character. Like I did from the Return to Shiganshina arc, but
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like this most recent scene, like he wasn't at his best, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, moving on. I was so happy to see Historia. It was one of my long awaited things, and also something I kind of predicted, I guess, last episode. Although it's not exactly the way or it's
Right.
it's not as much as I would have wanted. I guess
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because something I still definitely want is I want Historia's perspective on all this. I want to
Mm-hmm.
see it from her point of view. Because in this chapter, it was first of all, it was rather brief, and it wasn't that detailed. Like it was just kind of like pieces of scenes, sort of. Um,
Right.
I definitely would like something more.
This whole part with like the black background is very ambiguous and
Mm,
in some cases like it's not
yeah,
completely clear, if you know what I mean.
yeah, no, absolutely. You really have to like dig into it to kind of understand it. I think when I read it the first time, I didn't really grasp as much as I did my second time. That could have partially also been because I was reading fan translations, and they can be a little harder to follow along with sometimes. Uh, but anyway, yeah, it definitely is a little. It makes you like it forces you to really think. And one thing that I thought was interesting, but also I kind of hate Aaron for it, or I
Mm-hmm.
definitely hate Aaron for it, is how he's being so manipulative with Historia here. Um, and at the end of like right before it shifts over to Aaron and Zeke, where he basically forces uh, Historia to be quiet and not tell anyone about his plan, because she's the one who saved him in the Uprising arc, and
Mm-hmm.
and he calls back to a thing she said about being the worst girl in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was the monologue she had where she was talking about she wanting to destroy humanity or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly, but it was something that sounds like the rumbling, but obviously it wasn't intended as
No,
such.
yeah,
Uh,
totally.
and he's playing with that, or like messing with her head in that kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And I despise Aaron for doing this to Historia.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, yeah, it's so dirty and unfair and bad. Anyway,
I
what do you
mean,
think?
I didn't have definitely didn't have that strong of the emotions in that regard for sure. I don't know, like I see this. I don't know. I just see this as him trying to protect Historia, but one of his friends. And you know, I did think the part where he would erase her memories. I was like, oh man, that you really go that far, huh?
And he
Is
would.
what I he would, yeah. Um, it was what it would. That was a thought I had. But at the end of
Yeah.
the day, I think he's trying to do this for her as much as he's trying to do for everyone else. So I don't know. I didn't see it as too manipulative, but I do see why one would call it manipulative. Um,
Right.
and I don't know. I don't hate him for it.
This is like one of the, or maybe this is like, well, I guess so. The first time that I got like very kind of upset with Aaron was when he attacked Liberio.
Oh.
Like that was definitely the first time that I was like I felt very strongly like fuck you, Aaron, like what the hell are you doing?
Oh, in
Uh
the Marley arc?
yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
After he had been talking to Reiner.
Yeah.
Uh that was the first time, and this is kind of brings back like brings gives me a very similar kind of like dislike for him, like not as a character but as a person. Like as a fictional character I'm still enjoying him,
Mm-hmm.
like in the story, but
Mm-hmm.
like just like viewing him as a like as a person, as a human, I hate this act that he's doing, like the thing, this action of being this manipulative.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't see. I know an eye for an eye is not how we should be doing things,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I I didn't feel that strongly against Aaron um, at that when he attacked Liberio and the Marley Garg scene. I really didn't for some because I knew
Huh.
that what else was he to do? Just sit there and die, or just let his people let his friends and family be killed. I mean, to me it felt like the world was gonna attack them anyway, so you might as well attack first. Is is what I got from that, and I didn't like agree with the fact that he killed other Eldians. No, um,
Uh,
and he himself, I don't think necessarily wanted to per se.
well, yeah.
He even remember how he talked to Reiner and said that I'm just like you in the sense that I've been among these people and I've seen the bad of these people, but I've also seen the good, just like you did.
Hmm.
But in the end, he went with it, just like, well, I guess Reiner had. Yeah. Well, yeah, just like Reiner did.
Right. Yeah.
And so I don't know if you can. To me, if you can like Reiner for doing that, but hate Aaron for doing that, I
Well,
don't know. It seems interesting.
yeah. Well, so
Like,
let me explain that actually. So, Aaron had been Aaron had more life experience at the time. He had experienced
oh,
the same
true,
thing that he
very true.
was putting the people in Liberia through. He had seen that through his own eyes and experienced that terror. He knew what
Hmm.
it was like, and he knew what he was putting all of those people through. And there was a lot of people there, like there more
Which
people than
which
usual.
Historia basically brings up, like about like Aaron's mother and how she was innocent, but yet
Yeah, absolutely,
killed.
precisely. Uh, but when Reiner and his gang broke through the wall in Shiganshina, they were just kids. Like, sure, it's still a
Hmm.
horrible act, but they were kids. They were, they were made to do that by their government, by the authority. Like,
Hmm.
they didn't really have a choice. Like, they didn't do that out of their own,
Hmm.
choice. Whereas Aaron did. Aaron definitely did.
But I would argue that Aaron also didn't have a choice at that point.
Well, we don't know. I mean, it was the only solution that he could see.
Hmm.
But there were still plenty of other characters who didn't, from the island who didn't agree with him on that. That's why he went alone.
Hmm. I totally agree with that. I don't know. It's definitely complicated, and I think it makes Aaron a much more interesting character than
Oh yeah.
how he was in the beginning. I still liked Aaron, and I still found him interesting, but
Mm.
he's definitely he's a lot deeper um, than he is before. In my mind, like there's a lot more to him.
Mm.
Then again, I mean, I guess you could argue, well, at the end of the day, he's just a raging child who just wants to kill everybody.
Yeah.
I guess you could
Yeah.
still argue that, but I think there's more to it, especially, and this is why I cannot hate Aaron because so for me, I don't know if you remember at the beginning of us recording, I was
Mm.
so confused of what the very beginning of the podcast,
Right.
like first episode. I
A
was
year
so
ago.
confused. A year ago. Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Happy
Yeah. This
anniversary.
month is the 1 year anniversary of Titan Tea Time.
Happy anniversary, guys. Thanks for sticking around for so long and
Yes. By the way.
listening through my ramblings and Petter's very good explanations. But I disliked Aaron because I was confused what in the world he was doing. I needed to know why he was so put offish. Like
Right.
what were his goals? Why was he not the Aaron that we knew or that we thought we knew?
Mm.
And then we get the him traveling through his memories with Zeke. And then you start to see that Aaron, the real Aaron come out again. The one who fights for freedom, the one who says I was born to this because I was born to this world. That good stuff. And
Yeah.
then you get the part where he frees Ymir, and he kind of like becomes her savior in that sense. Like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, isn't that good?
It
That's
is.
good, right?
It's so good.
And you see like this the side of him that was from the very beginning. Like he wanted to protect people, like his friends, his people he cared about. And granted, he may not have knew Ymir personally, but I think like he realized he was the only one who could do it, or who would do it.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, and that kind of brought back, okay, yes, this is the Eren I know. And then he transformed into a gigantic Titan and with a a message of I'm going to destroy the world.
Yes.
So it's like I'm getting conflicting messages here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I do see your hatred. Well, why you would dislike him being this way, but I do think it's on par for not only his character, but I don't think
Oh,
it's
yes.
necessarily a bad thing what he's doing here.
Oh.
I don't know, but again, and now it makes it sound like I am promoting genocide, which I'm not.
Just want to make
I-
that clear.
Yeah, I just want to make that clear. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's complicated. It's complicated
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely. And he's a very complicated character, and that's what makes him interesting. And I love his role in this story. It's just, as a person, I have on certain occasions been not very fond of his actions. And honestly, with him, because at least the way I'm reading into it here is that he is manipulating Historia into like staying quiet, kind of almost like a blackmail kind of situation. Although it's not quite that, but it's like still like I don't like it. And with that in mind, it's kind of like, so you were talking about how he went to the paths to free Ymir and like let her be free, but that scene could also be interpreted as Eren manipulating Ymir to use her powers for his own, goal.
Man, I never thought of it that way.
I think that's almost as likely as him just doing it out of kindness. It could have just him manipulating her to lend her to lend him her powers. Yeah.
I know I'm gonna sound like a bigot, but I refuse to believe that's the case. I cannot. I cannot believe. I mean, yeah, Eren. I think you're right. I think Eren would go to great lengths to do anything for his friends, or if he thinks that's the only way.
Right.
I just. And again, like that was obviously part of the plan, or if this is the only way, he had to do this. But I want to believe, and I do believe that he did it for the right reasons. To stop the cycle of the Titans, to, end Ymir, her slavery.
Right.
Eventually, I mean, maybe not right now, because obviously people can still transform into Titans. But I think at the end of the day, I do think that power is going to go away, and if Eren hadn't done at least taken in the power of the founding Titan, the Titans would still be a thing, and Ymir would still be a slave.
True.
So
Yeah.
that's my thinking on it. I'm sorry if I sound very like, I'm just thinking Japanese, not hantai. Sorry, very very against what you're saying. But I do see what you're saying, and I can definitely see the manipulation in some ways.
Right, because I kind of feel like in some aspects, or I don't know, maybe it's just like speculation, but I feel like Eren could be compared to the old Eldian king who had
Who's
Ymir.
using Ymir?
Yeah.
I can't.
And it's like the way he's manipulating Historia in this scene, as I've been talking about, I feel that kind of mirrors how that king used Ymir.
Now I disagree, because Eren is specifically fighting against that. If he was trying to, have her eat the Beast Titan and eventually eat the founding titan and continue on,
Right.
you know,
Well.
a Ymir 2.0,
Mm,
then that would have been the case. But instead,
right.
he encouraged, well Ymir, or not Ymir, Historia, I think it's Historia who has the idea just that she would have a kid,
Uh,
um, and which would keep her. What was it? No, was it Aaron who said that? Well, anyway, it would keep her away from, at least for the time being, having to eat the Beast Titan. So
right.
I have to disagree there, but I don't know. I mean, parallels and symbolisms are definitely a thing in this manga. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is similar to the king.
Maybe, and because I'm also thinking. Oh wait. Oh, wait. Sorry, I must have. I just read something, and I think I misread it the first time.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
okay, so kind right before we get to see Aaron like cutting his leg off and
Hmm.
poking his eye out.
Which, man, did not expect to see that.
Yeah, that
Didn't
was
think
really
I didn't
nice.
didn't think we get that detail.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed this. But like right before that, we see Historia say, "What would you think about me having a child?" And then she kind of describes that a little bit more. For some reason, I read that as Aaron saying it the first time, which was like, "Oh, Daddy Aaron." Uh, and that obviously would mirror him being the king even more. But I don't think. Well, he didn't say that though. That was Historia who
No,
said
that
it.
was that was
So scratch that.
because she says, she addresses Aaron before she says that. She says, "Well, Aaron, at least in the English translation, what would you think about me having a child?"
Yeah,
And then it
precisely.
goes in. So I think we can for sure say that was Historia asking that.
Absolutely.
I guess since we're here, I mean, I do have a deep desire to go back to what Zeke and Aaron are talking about.
Yeah,
But
and
since
yeah.
we're here real quick, I do. Sorry, I just want to ask you:
Uh huh.
do you think that Aaron is the father?
I'm gonna say no.
Mm-hmm.
Although if he is, I'm not saying he definitely isn't because
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
still think there's a chance, but I think if he is the father, then that definitely is even more resemblance of
The king.
Ymir and the king.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't know. Maybe it's me kind of because I personally don't want him to be the father,
Mm-hmm.
but
Nor do I really.
right, and like so maybe that's like it's my wishful thinking that's saying no here, but honestly, I don't really know either way.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to say. Um, I I think so. There were some people in Discord, and I don't want to call anybody out or anything like that. You're all wrong. No, I'm kidding. Um, it, I do think you can interpret this either way, meaning that I think Isayama meant it to be vague,
Hmm.
just to kind of be a teaser kind of a thing. Personally, I don't think he's the father, and like you said, that could be ingrained in the fact that I don't want him to be.
Right.
Um, but it's hard to understand what Historia's intent here is. Is her intent, by asking this, is her intent to say, I'm available, or like, I wouldn't mind it if you're the father of my children, or
Uh,
or is she just giving the plan and saying, hey, maybe this could be a good idea. I'm not sure. Like, maybe she offers that to Aaron, you know, but she still has like a backup in mind. um, and then Aaron says no or whatever. Um,
hmm.
so I don't know. I mean, it's possible. It is possible, and I don't think you could say for sure
Right.
that he isn't. So it is possible that they have that kind of relationship. And I mean, their relationship is very interesting. They're you reading through the manga, I realized how much of a friendship they had. I didn't quite
Mm.
grasp it while watching the anime for some reason. I
Ah.
saw glimpses of it, but I didn't see it as strongly as I did in the manga for some reason. I don't know.
I
I
I
think it's
think
just because. So go ahead.
I think that's because of the way they adapted the Uprising arc into the
Yeah.
anime, because they kind of changed the order of some things, and they also cut out some parts of that arc.
Mm,
Like that's probably the worst adapted arc.
mm.
I'd
Yeah,
say.
I can see that.
There's just
And
so much
so
more to it in the manga.
right, totally, and I totally got that
Mm.
from my read. Um, so yeah, so the relationship is much closer. So I don't think it would be, you know, out of the question if they were to have that kind of, you know, sexual relationship.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think big reason why I think this he isn't the father, and I've gone on this long enough, but hear me out,
Uh huh.
is that I don't think mentally he would want to have a child. I don't know if it's ever
Mm.
been Aaron's like desire to have a family, at least yet. I think
Yeah.
he's so goal orientated with what he has to get done that unless it's something that he saw unless he saw in a vision that has to happen, which is potential, I guess it's potential. I don't think he'd be like, "Yep, sure, let's do it."
Right. Yeah. No,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean?
Absolutely.
So anyway, sorry for going on and on about that, but
Right. I could also see that, like, the reason why Historia brings this up and describes that she wants her child to be, to live a long, happy life and all that.
mm-hmm,
I think the reason she brings it up, alternatively, could also be because, well, so there was this 50-year plan kind of that they had about where the royal family on the island would be pretty much slaves to the island, and they would, they would breed, and they would pass down a titan power,
mm-hmm,
supposedly the beast titan,
mm-hmm,
and just keep on doing that for 50 years until potentially the island would be on a, more equal ground as the rest of the world when it comes to technology and population size and those sorts of things.
mm-hmm,
That was one of the plans, like one of the, I guess, more peaceful plans or ideas earlier on, and obviously that would include her having a child, but it would be in a very negative way. It would be
mm-hmm,
very just destructive and tragic.
mm-hmm. But I think to that plan,
Mm.
Aaron was very much against. I believe there was that whole seed with him and Hanji about
Right.
that, right?
Yeah, yeah, because Aaron didn't see that. Well, first of all, he didn't want Historia to be treated that way,
Mm-hmm.
but he also didn't see it as a solution, like as something that would end the conflicts for good.
Mm-hmm.
It would only be
Mm-hmm.
like a temporary solution to a permanent problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
so obviously, yeah, yeah, he was against that, and so I think Historia bringing up this now, like having a child that wouldn't be a slave to the island, the way the 50-year plan would have it. Uh, does that indicate that maybe Historia is more accepting of Aaron's plan? And that's why she brings up, so like, and basically this time, or with this plan, she will be able to have a child that will be free and will be able to live a long life
Yeah.
in a world where they won't be viewed the way they are in the world today. So
Mm-hmm.
I could probably maybe see this, like, not related to who the daddy is.
Mm-hmm.
Or I shouldn't say daddy. Fuck, what has the internet done to us? Daddy sounds kinky now. Anyway, anyway, like, not like unrelated to like who the father is. Um, I think this could maybe hint at Historia being more accepting of Aaron's plan. I
Yeah,
sort of see that as some
I
kind
can
of
see that.
possibility.
Yeah, I can see that.
And if she reached that conclusion through being manipulated by Aaron, or if she reached that conclusion on a, like, more by herself, I don't know at all. I could see either of those being the case. But yeah, interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to talk a little bit about Aaron and Zeke's conversation?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I know we've been going pretty long already, but I do think this is pretty important to
Yes. Oh yes.
the plot. Um, and I don't think it's going to be as like side fluff as maybe some people think, because so Zeke mentions or Aaron brings up the headaches that Mikasa has
Mm,
to Zeke,
right.
and Zeke tells him what he knows about the Ackerman clan and the tests they did, and he brings up the fact that let me see, he says ingrained behavior to protect a host, that he's like that's just not a thing.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't know where Aaron got that, unless he got it from his memories of him telling Mikasa and Armin that in the future. I'm not,
I think he just made it up.
because Aaron was the first one to say it, right?
I mean, yeah. We've only heard it from him.
Right. So I mean, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, yes. I firmly believe that he just made it up.
Right.
Um, but like why he brings it up to Zeke as if like, oh, I heard about this, about the Ackerman class or clan. Is that true? I think that potentially he saw that point, that memory of him
Oh.
saying that kind of stuff, and this is just me theorizing. He's saying that kind of stuff, and he's like, "Wait, is that true?" Um, but Zeke tells him no, it wasn't. But I think Aaron realizes that he has to say that,
Right.
and that's so funny because I remember talking about that table scene, that infamous table scene, and being like, "There's no way he really means that. There's no way he hates her for that, or
Right.
what? I mean, that can't be the case." And I even said that he was lying
Yeah.
at one
Yeah.
point. And it turns out that's true. I had like given up on that and be like, oh, you know what, like maybe that. But at this point, it's like, what? He made that up.
Yeah.
So, man, it's very very interesting.
Uh huh.
He's definitely, so I think this also confirms that he's trying to put space between him, Mikasa, and Armin
Right.
in some way.
It's another one of those things that we all pretty much knew, but not like with
Right.
like a hard confirmation. But
Right.
now we have that confirmation.
Totally,
Mm-hmm.
totally.
Yeah.
So I really like, I did like that confirmation, even though we, like you said, we kind of already figured that he was trying to put space in between him. But I mean, there were some people who we took the fact that the Ackerman clan protected hosts, and we took that as gospel.
Mm.
But that's just not the case.
Yeah, and I love that, like knowing that for sure now, or at least
Right.
for as sure as we can
True.
get,
True.
like because we at least have like Titan science researchers, or we know that's not a thing that neither of them have ever like come across or been able to figure out. So that makes me more hopeful for Mikasa.
Exactly. Exactly. I think it gives Mikasa's character just a little more room to grow, or it just gives her a little more, like
Yeah,
there's more to her than just being a science engineered slave.
right, precisely. Yeah, and it proves that her being so protective of Aaron is her choice, not
Right.
it's not in her lineage or
Exactly. Which is kind of funny because she's so much right now. She, at least in previous chapters, she was very much just like, am I doing this for myself, or is this just my lineage that is
Yeah.
controlling me, or something like that?
Uh-huh.
But Aaron's the one that basically, and here again, it kind of manipulated that in a way.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. It makes up for some very interesting things, in my opinion, especially now that we know that, or at least, yeah, as I said, pretty much, definitely know that it's
Yeah.
her own free will.
Right.
But
Totally.
yeah, Aaron definitely has messed with her a bit.
Yeah. And then so the next part is like Zeke saying, "I just think she likes you, dude," kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like that kind of confirmation that, or not confirmation, but just people still saying that, oh, Mikasa has a thing for Aaron.
Yeah.
As obviously I am a strong Aaron Mikasa shipper, even though I don't think that's necessarily going to happen at the end. And nor do I necessarily think that Aaron sees her romantically in any way, because kind of like I was saying with Historia.
Mm.
But I do think he was almost dense enough not to clearly see that.
Yeah.
And I think him asking Zeke about that and talking to Zeke is him kind of is Aaron kind of realizing that, and it gives a little more weight to that part where he's memory hopping with Zeke and he sees him giving the scarf to Mikasa. It's not so much that he was sad about her being a slave by the Levi Ackerman bloodline, or not Levi Ackerman, Ackerman bloodline.
Right, right.
It was more, he was sad that, you know, some sort of bond was started there.
Yeah.
Potentially. That's what I think.
Uh-huh.
And there's that whole cliche thing in Japanese literature or media of the red string of fate. It's fairly cliche, but like, you know, oh, where's my lover who's tied to me by the red string
Oh yeah.
of fate, and the scarf happens to be red as well.
Well,
So
at least in the anime it is.
in the anime, you're right. I mean, I guess it does seem black in the manga, and I guess in the front cover,
Right.
it's usually black. But anyway, I guess like you could make the argument, oh, maybe that is the cliche red string of fate, but I don't know if he necessarily likes to go for cliches per se. Anyway,
Yeah. Well.
just wanted to get that out.
Right.
And do find it funny that Zeke is giving love advice.
Yeah, dude, I love it. Like that.
It's pretty
the
hilarious.
fact that they've had these like brotherly moments talking about love and life, and like, I mean, who knows how much more they've talked about just as brothers.
Yeah, just brothers playing baseball.
Yeah, dude, I like to imagine they've just had a lot of those types of moments that we just haven't seen.
Right. I do like he also says, so how will you respond?
Oh yeah.
I don't know, just like,
he's curious.
yeah, he's a shipper. I'm just kidding. He doesn't even know the girl at this point.
No sex
Anyway.
though.
No sex.
No babies.
Yeah, no babies. Only hand holding.
Right.
That's pushing it.
Yeah. Like maybe a like kiss goodnight.
Whoa.
Maybe that's a bit far though.
You're only one step away. Have you ever heard kissing makes you pregnant? You didn't know that?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, right. Oh boy.
Anyway, that's all I want to say.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the final bit of the chapter, we see the global Allied fleet miraculously have united very quickly. Like the whole world pretty much went together to unite against this threat. And we get to see the start of the rumbling, or at least the start of the rumbling on the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And the Titans are swimming.
Dude, I was joking.
I know.
I literally said well, anyway, it's funny. Like, I mean but you think about it, like, unless there was some sort of bridge somehow created, swimming was really the only option.
True, exactly. Like there were like because I think the thing I mostly suspected was that Aaron would create a bridge out of his Warhammer powers that they could just walk on to get across, and that would also kind of symbolically, like, it would leave a bridge behind, like a bridge between the two nations, kind of symbolism. I don't know. That obviously didn't happen. The third option, I guess, would be that they would like walk across the seabed. Yeah. But this
again,
definitely seems more like this feels more practical to just swim.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, very nice to see that, and then it's another one of those like confirmations, even though it did feel a bit silly just in thought. But seeing it here now, it makes perfect sense. Very nice that your joke came true.
Yay!
And so, yeah, do you think Aaron is gonna fulfill his destiny to kill the animals that he vowed to destroy in chapter 1 or chapter 2?
I don't know, man. All I'm gonna right now, you just look at that that face.
Yeah, coming out of the
And
water.
oh gosh.
Yeah.
Was he even in the water? Like maybe I don't know, maybe he was in the water. His
Uh,
hair is all
oh,
wet
oh, oh,
from
oh,
the
sorry. Oh, I was looking at one of the colossal titans or one of the wall titans'
No,
face.
no, sorry.
uh,
I had moved on. I thought we moved on. I'm
right. Yeah.
sorry.
No. No. Let's definitely move on. Aaron's big face, or I guess it's tiny compared to the whole body, but it's
Mhm.
still a big face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It just it I do love the imagery of the kind of the horror and stills of seeing all this colossal titan, and then behind that you
Yeah.
have this like monstrosity
Yeah.
of a titan. Like, oh my gosh.
It's yeah. Yeah, and like we just talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the
Mhm.
episode, but yeah, this is big moment.
It just it looks like it's almost like a floating head in some aspects, but obviously the neck's
Yeah.
there, and it looks so sinister.
Oh yeah, dude, it's
I mean,
so
understandingly, but still,
so
oh man.
scary. And it's got like lips at the front, which I don't think. Yeah, Aaron's Titan has never had lips before.
Oh,
So I thought
that's true.
that was an interesting touch. It kind of, I mean, it
Yeah.
makes it look very freaky with like the lips at the front, and then you can see the teeth going out on the
Mhm.
sides. Kind of, damn.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, because when he first transformed into this Titan, um, he obviously we only saw like this like the
The
skeletal
spine,
form.
really.
Yeah, and now it's still just a skeleton Titan. And I hadn't expected that because I kind of thought when we saw him way back when he was transforming or had recently transformed, I thought that he was still
Mhm.
kind of being shaped. Kind of, I thought he would get like flesh and skin, or at least flesh, um, and like muscles and whatnot. But it's just bones. Like,
Yeah.
it's very weird.
Indeed.
The face isn't just bones though.
Mhm. Yeah. There's flesh there,
Yeah.
but everything else is bones.
Yeah.
Um, Two things about that. One, it kind of subverted our expectations a bit about what the form would be. I mean, we knew it was going to be horrifying, but not like otherworldly or
Yeah.
something that's you don't find in nature. I mean, when's the last time you saw that? And when you went camping.
Right.
um,
Yeah. Oh
so
my god.
yeah, like it. Yeah, it's even for this world. It's or if you understand what titans are, it's still like
Mm.
horrifying and a monstrosity. And then the other thing is with the skeleton thing. Maybe it has. I'm not sure why it would be this way. I'm not sure because of the panels where the chapter we got with the original Ymir, her Titan didn't, for as far as we know, it didn't look like this. But I
No.
wonder if it has something to
Well,
do with the creature or the thing that Ymir fused with.
yeah, I
I
wonder.
don't
I
know.
mean, she was
I don't
definitely
know.
massive. I don't think she was this massive though.
Right.
And she
Or maybe if she was, but she didn't. She had flesh,
she had flat.
and
Her I think her ribs stuck out
yeah,
of
they
her
did.
like torso, but yeah, she did have flesh, and I still don't think she was quite this size because there is a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
panel in there where I mean she's definitely bigger than like pretty much any other Titan,
Mm-hmm.
but
But
not
yeah,
this
probably not
size.
this big,
Yeah,
right?
I think she was maybe the size of a colossal Titan or maybe slightly bigger, but not this much bigger. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Just makes you
yeah,
wonder how or why was he able to transform into this?
yeah. I've also been thinking about that. Like, is there a reason? I mean, there's got to be a reason as to why he's got this Titan form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, how's he walking? Is he walking on those spider leg kind of things, or I don't even know how to describe it.
How far do they go? Like,
Yeah.
if they go all the way to this, I mean, again, maybe he was underwater, which is a possibility,
Hmm, yeah.
probably.
Right. Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, he's. I mean, I don't know how many colossal titans tall he is, but
Hmm.
that is just insane.
Very much insane. And the rumbling is in full swing.
Yeah, he did it, or he's starting it.
Yep, indeed. They're trampling that city straight up.
How do you feel about that?
It makes me excited because I mean, it's kind of like thinking about it now. It's like, of course, there's gonna be like stakes this high for
Mm-hmm.
the finale of such a grand epic as Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this is obviously like we should have pretty much expected this.
Mm-hmm.
Like we should have been like, yeah, of course this is going to happen. I didn't feel exactly that way, but like seeing it now is like it makes perfect sense for the story to have come here, because like the stakes just they couldn't be higher, and it's
Right.
super exciting to see this now, and I cannot wait for next month's chapter, and I guess just the whole next volume as a whole is going to be so just yeah, just so much excitement and good stuff.
Definitely. I I don't. This is it's sad to see. Um, like it's hype to see because we've been building up to this moment for so long. We finally get to see Aaron's Titan,
Mm.
and the rumbling is starting. But at the same time, like all those people are gonna die. Even by
Yeah,
the time that the alliance gets to Aaron, however they do it,
yeah,
or whatever they do,
right.
the thousands of people, maybe close to a million, I don't know, are going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's kind of surreal to think, and it's hard to. I'll be honest. It's hard to want to cheer for Aaron.
Oh, totally, totally, yeah.
I'm obviously Aaron has always been for me one of my favorite characters,
Uh-huh.
and he still will be. I think by the end because he's not Mr. Funky, Mr. Edgy loner guy anymore.
Yeah.
But I I don't know. Like I'm just so conflicted,
Mm.
and I don't. It's not like I need my main protagonist to be heroic all the time, but morally speaking, it's hard to support him.
Right. Well, of course, yeah, yeah, definitely, especially after this chapter.
Right. But at the same time, it's that moral ambiguity that makes Attack on Titan, especially up at this point in the story, just so interesting and engrossing.
Oh yes.
Because not only do you wonder like how are they going to end it, how what is the alliance going to do? You also wonder like, I mean, is it right for Aaron to do this? Is it, because let's say they went with the Historia plan where they use Historia and the cycle just continues again.
Mm.
That doesn't stop anything. Sure, some people will be alive, but hatred will still continue, and then people will still die. And then you take Zeke's plan. It's like um, people will die, but no one new will be born into the cycle. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the cycle will be ended that way.
Exactly.
But is that there's just
Uh,
there's so many like things like I don't know if any of this is right, but but I think as human beings we often try to find the correct solution. There's only one correct solution, or
mm.
there
Right.
is
True.
an ultimate truth. And I'll be frank with you. I am religious.
Hmm.
I know that may turn some people off, and I'm not going to preach to anybody.
Oh, I mean,
But I,
yeah, whatever.
I do have my own beliefs
Hmm.
that I believe to be true,
Right.
and I don't force them on other people, but I do have those beliefs. But at the end of the day, as human beings we do want to find that one truth, whether it be that you know this religion is true, or this religion is true, or no religion is true.
Yeah.
We want to say there is one definite truth, and in a lot of cases there is one definite truth, but in some ways there's so much ambiguity in the world when it comes to like our own psychology and the way we think
Yeah.
and what's morally correct, that it's hard to say what is the right case.
For sure.
Um, and I think, whether he means to or not, I think Isayama is doing a pretty good job of reflecting that in the manga, because again, like, while while I don't while I'm conflicted on how to feel about this, I'm almost at the point where maybe this is the only way.
I
I don't
mean,
support genocide, but maybe this is right. I
uh,
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me.
I mean, yeah, dude. I
Cuz
mean, totally. It's so interesting because I do understand Aaron. Like I do understand that he wants to live and he wants his friends to live and have good lives.
mhm.
That's fair. Like I understand that. And if this is the only solution that he can find
Mhm.
and into bringing that kind of peace and happiness and freedom to him and his people, then I guess that's what has to be done. Like it's kill or be killed, pretty much.
Mhm. Right.
But of course, I'm not
I'm
supporting the rumbling.
no. And I know that some people take things literally when it comes to um, literature sometimes, but I think it is important to realize it's fiction.
Yeah.
It's not based on real life events, not in support of really anything. It's a story being told, and I think we also have to prepare ourselves for the fact that not every story ends with rainbows and happy endings.
Yeah.
This one might have some sort of like bow at the end, best based on the final panel we've seen, unless
Mm.
it's changed.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I think we might it might be a tragic
Mm.
ending at the very least. So what that entails, I don't know, but anyway,
Yeah.
I'm excited, but it's also gut wrenching just to see this happening. But anyway, I know I may have said some conflicting things there, but hopefully I was
Right. No. No. I think it's
clear
good.
enough.
Hmm. I don't know what's more to say exactly about the chapter. Oh, actually, there's one more thing I'd like to say about the chapter.
Okay.
Looking at the final page,
Mhm.
or final two pages, I suppose. Um, if we're looking at Aaron, we can see like there's this wire kind of that's going
Mhm.
over like from his main body or like the little like where his head and arms are. There's this wire that's going up over like the other like skeletal spine.
Mhm.
I'm assuming that's the cable or whatever you want to call it that leads to the Warhammer crystal, and Aaron is inside of that potentially, like at the end of that cable,
Oh,
back where the giant spine is. That's where Aaron is, possibly.
interesting theory. That's a good point. My first thought was, either some sort of nervous system or muscles or something, but
Uh,
based on Titans we've already seen, that's not necessarily something that's been consistent. So having the Warhammer Titan like that, and maybe that's why he was so adamant about getting the Warhammer Titan.
oh yeah, although yeah, right, precisely, yeah. Um,
So it's possible.
but actually, I don't think he intended to eat the Warhammer Titan from the beginning because he thought Willie Tiber was the Warhammer Titan and he just killed him. He just ripped him apart. Didn't try to eat him. I think it was something he kind of assumed or came up with on the spot. I think during the battle that, oh my god, I could just eat this. Uh,
Yeah, that's
or it seemed that way.
that's true too. He may not have planned it.
Right, and like I have two other reasons to kind of think that it's the case that he's using the Warhammer Titan crystal gimmick. There is
Mm-hmm.
firstly because if his head is the only part of his whole Titan body that's got like flesh, then he can't sit inside of the nape because there would only be like a spine there.
True. True.
Um, and secondly, it's far more like defensive. Like, you can't
Mm-hmm.
really like if someone would try to attack him, you can't really break through that crystal unless you have like, well,
The Jaw Titan.
the jaw titan, right? So I
So
think
Falco gonna get more of a role here. Let's go.
yeah, dude, totally.
Falco becomes the god of this world.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I think that's probably what that string is. It's at least the best idea that I could come up with.
That's a pretty good idea. I never even put that together.
Mm, mm. But it's interesting. Do you have any predictions from this point?
Um, it's hard. We had some predictions last week about like if this would be a Zeke Historia chapter, then we'd have potentially 2 more volumes. But if we see Aaron's Titan, then there'd only be 1 more volume.
Oh, we got all of that in this
Got
chapter.
both. We got both.
Yeah.
But not in the way I think we were thinking.
Yeah, yeah,
per
true.
se.
Definitely, yeah.
I'm still uncertain if there would be 1 volume or not. I think starting the rumbling is a big point, and how do you make it even more climactic? I'm not sure. Um, but I think there's still.
I think we are in the climax now, though. Like, this is where.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if there is 2 more volumes, then there would have to be something even more climactic. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
But
Yeah.
since this is that climax, I think that maybe it is 1 more volume.
Well, actually, so the climax is basically starting right now, pretty much. I guess you could say, sort
Okay.
of. And so, uh, the uh, the main meat of the Return to Shiganshina arc, like the battle in Shiganshina, I think that spanned over at least 2 volumes. I could like I don't want to like swear on it, but I'm pretty like that was
Sure.
definitely a long conflict, a long climax in a way of that arc. So I guess I could see it either way, 1 or 2 volumes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm the same way. I personally, I know maybe this is fanboy coming out, but I would like 2 more volumes, just because I don't want it to feel rushed, and I trust Isayama, but I want everyone to have their proper moment and make sure it's paced well. But again, it's Isayama's story, so whatever he says goes.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree completely with that.
But yeah, so as for what we could see in the next chapter, I think we could have another moment where we stick with just the alliance, and I almost don't want this to happen because it almost sounds kind of boring because I just want them to get to it already.
Okay.
But maybe they just like kind of like bring out their plans and say, okay, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna get to Aaron? Okay, we gotta fly a ship. Let's do that. And maybe they won't even. Either they get to Aaron at the end of the chapter, or they don't even get to Aaron.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Like that seems like the most likely, but it doesn't seem the most exciting per se. But who knows? Like they could make it interesting.
For sure. Yeah. I'm kind of feeling like in order to make it, I guess, as efficient as possible, but of course not with it being rushed is not what I want it to be. But I'm kind of thinking if the confrontation will be at Odiha. So they make it there,
okay.
and it's like a race against the clock. They do the maintenance on the plane, or the flying boat, as it were, and right when they're I guess able to fly it, that's when the rumbling arrives there, and Aaron's there too. So maybe that's where the whole finale is going to happen potentially.
In Odiha.
And if that's the case, I don't necessarily think we're gonna get there next chapter. I definitely think there's a good possibility that our heroes are gonna get to Odiha next chapter. But other alternatives, I think, could be to see more like the street view. Like if this is Liberia right here, which I think is a good possibility, but I don't know for sure.
Oh, so you think maybe this could be Liberio?
I think it's a possibility. I don't know for sure, of course, but I think maybe maybe. And if it is, then it would be interesting to see like the street view of this thing that's happening right now, through Annie's dad and like those characters, like the family members of
man.
the characters we know. Like something like that could be super like heartbreaking and just intense, potentially. And then one other thing, and I mentioned it briefly during the discussion as well, is I want more from Historia. I'm not quite satisfied with what we got. I mean, I
Oh no,
appreciate
I'm not
it.
at all.
Yeah. But I want more from Historia. As I said, I want more. I
Mm-hmm.
want her perspective, and I want more like about her thoughts and feelings about everything, and yeah, just everything from her perspective.
I mean, I'll be honest. I like what we had, but
Uh
I,
huh.
I want I want I want to know more about his story. I want to
Yeah.
who the real father is,
Yeah.
what kind of role she can possibly play. I mean, I'm glad we got what we got because it has been so long since we've seen her.
Yeah.
Um, but again, at the same time, like she's almost kind of played her role already, which is kind of sad to think. But
Right.
you know,
I do still think there's like interesting things with her, like we got in this chapter. It's like things from her, like from like a few years ago potentially, or like or 1 year ago, or like
mm-hmm.
those types of things. Like basically, I want more out of more of what we got in this chapter, basically, like those
Mm-hmm.
types of interactions, and but just
Yeah,
in greater detail, I guess.
totally. I think that what I really want, and I might have been against this in previous episodes, but the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of like wanting it.
Mm?
I want her and Zeke to kind of meet potentially.
Right.
I mean, Zeke, I do want to see Zeke in whatever capacity Isayama has planned, but I think it would be neat to have a Historia Zeke conversation
Totally. Yeah.
in some capacity dealing with, childbirth or why that's important or,
Mm-hmm.
well, not childbirth specifically, but,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. 100%.
being born into this world
I think it could be
and
super like insightful and kind of educative for Zeke to have a
yeah,
discussion like that with Historia.
yeah,
It's just the only question is like why would they meet up and have this conversation? Is
mm-hmm,
I guess
totally.
that. But definitely like that's why I suggested that idea before as well. Is like it just could be really interesting, and that's also something I want to know. Like where actually is Zeke right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because he is probably the biggest unknown right now. At least as far as like where they are, what they're
Right.
doing, like
Mm-hmm.
what are they going to do. He's definitely
Yeah.
up there in that. So I definitely want to see more of him. Maybe next chapter actually. Although who knows? I think next chapter could be a lot of different things. So
Yeah,
uh,
I think next chapter will help pave the way for like the focus of this, the rest of the story.
yeah,
Where they go from here, and then it could be
absolutely.
like subverted by, oh, Aaron's at Odiha. Oh, too late. But
Yeah.
I guess they'd have the flying boat prepared.
Mm.
One other prediction that that we mentioned last week, but didn't come to fruition is anything about Floche
Mm.
potentially still being alive or on the
Yes.
boat somehow.
Precisely.
I think I'm still holding to the fact that he's not dead, and could make an appearance pretty soon, or with at least next chapter as possible.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess maybe he would fill that role that we were saying that Yelena couldn't now because she doesn't know Aaron's plan. Maybe Floch knows more of it and knows exactly what's going on, but or at least his path of trajectory. But it seems, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. Like he's just marching forward.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, I don't know. But so I think Floch is still alive and will make an
Mm.
appearance next
Yeah.
chapter if they make it to Odiha, he'll make himself known.
I
But
think
anyway,
yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's a very good possibility, and I definitely also think Flock is a character who could like he could do a couple different things like as a character. I think and like not just with like what he could like what kind of role he could be playing in the end game, but also I think it's interesting that well he could be on the ship, as many of us have theorized, but he could also be back on Paradis where Zeke and Historia are most likely back there. So maybe he could somehow be on that side of the end of the story. I don't know.
It's possible. I don't know. I don't know if it'd be as interesting. He doesn't have too much of a relationship with those two.
True.
Not that Zeke has any relationship with the story to begin with, but there's a little more.
There's more potential there.
Yeah, there's more potential there.
Uh.
And I think there'd be more potential for Flock if he's on the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Talking
agree.
with those guys. But anyway, I mean,
Definitely.
it's definitely a possibility. Definitely a possibility.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think I'm done with the speculations and stuff. How about you?
Yeah, I can't think of too much. I'm still trying to process. I know it's been like over a week now of this chapter releasing, but I remember like I went for a run after reading this and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I processing my feelings. Like for the longest time I was just supporting Aaron so hard. Not necessarily, not in every choice he makes, and again
Right.
I did find him a bit annoying in the first, before the Marley arc in some cases. But I still liked him, and then had that moment with Ymir, the true Ymir, and anyway I'm really still trying to process this and come to grips with the fact that it's actually happening.
Yeah.
It's just a story. Look at me getting conflicted on a story.
No, but dude, I can understand that totally. Just because, I mean, if you are this invested in the story, I think it's natural to maybe like sometimes get a little worked up or just kind of conflicted, as you said, like in some way,
Mm-hmm.
It's what makes it fun, being able to get that into it.
Right. That's definitely a big reason why it's something that I like to read, is because it does make me think.
Yeah.
And it is entertaining. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say entertaining. I guess entertaining, but I mean, it's not like yes, destroy them all, trample them under your feet.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some people like that.
Oh, I'm sure there's some people like that.
There's probably a flock out there.
The real life
rejoicing.
flock.
Real life flock. It's just like, finally, this is what I've been waiting for.
Oh God. Yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, there's all sorts of people. So.
True.
I believe it.
I just want to know how this ends.
Yeah.
I want the next chapter. I want.
So exciting.
That's the problem, is like I know I'll get the next chapter and I know I won't be satisfied. I just know it. I know I'll be just like, okay, that's great, but I want to know how it ends. That's my prediction. I still won't be satisfied. I won't be satisfied until the final chapter comes. Unfortunately.
Like true satisfaction probably can't come until then. Yeah, until the story's over and we know everything. We have it all, or at least we have enough by then.
Right.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening to this short self-promotion before we hop off. We usually don't do this, but I figured why not try it out. If you want to check out our other stuff beyond this channel specifically, you can find James at Intensity, a YouTube channel linked in the description. He does cool little like gaming related videos, very interesting like discussions and gameplay and various things like that. And you can find me on Leon Morris. I make music, compose, and record and produce my own music. You can listen to that if you're interested. Also linked in the description. And final thing, if you want to talk to us a little bit more, discuss Attack on Titan and other things, feel free to join our Discords. We have one Discord server specifically for Attack on Titan and Titan Teatime that you can join, but also one for this whole YouTube channel as a whole, if you feel like joining that one as well. We were having a lot of fun, especially in the Titan Teatime server, talking a lot, discussing the manga and a bunch of other things. It's a blast. Again, thank you for listening to yet another podcast episode of ours, and we'll see you all next month. Bye bye.
Bye bye.